Welcome to this exploration of viruses, one of the most fascinating and misunderstood entities in the biological world. Viruses are classified as non-living infectious agents that exist at the boundary between living and non-living matter. Throughout this presentation, we will discover what makes viruses unique, how they function, and why they can only reproduce inside host cells. Understanding viruses is crucial for comprehending how diseases spread and how our bodies defend against infections. One of the most intriguing questions in biology is whether viruses are alive or non-living. This fundamental question has puzzled scientists for decades and continues to spark debate in the scientific community. The answer is not straightforward because viruses exhibit characteristics of both living and non-living things. They share some properties with living organisms while lacking other essential features of life. This ambiguity makes viruses a unique subject of study in microbiology. Viruses display a fascinating mix of living and non-living characteristics. On one hand, they possess living traits. They can reproduce by making copies of themselves, and they can evolve over time through genetic mutations, just like living organisms do. However, viruses also have clear non-living traits. They cannot reproduce independently without a host cell, and they cannot carry out metabolism, which is the chemical processes that sustain life. This dual nature is what makes the classification of viruses so challenging. Despite the debate, the scientific community has reached a consensus. Viruses are classified as non-living infectious agents because they lack the fundamental characteristics of life when outside a host cell. When a virus exists outside of a living cell, it is essentially an inert particle with no metabolic activity. It cannot grow, reproduce, or respond to its environment. The virus only becomes active when it enters a host cell and hijacks the cellular machinery to replicate itself. Viruses have a remarkably simple structure compared to living cells. Every virus contains genetic material, which can be either DNA or RNA. This genetic material carries the instructions for making new viral particles. Surrounding this genetic material is a protein coat called a capsid, which protects the viral genetic material from damage. Some viruses also have an additional outer layer called a lipid envelope, which is derived from the host cell membrane. This envelope helps certain viruses attach to and enter host cells more effectively. The most important characteristic of viruses is that they are obligate intracellular parasites. The term obligate means required or necessary, and intracellular means inside a cell. This means viruses absolutely must infect a living host cell to reproduce. They cannot replicate on their own in the environment. Without access to a host cell, a virus cannot make copies of itself and remains dormant. This dependency on host cells is what fundamentally distinguishes viruses from living organisms and makes them parasitic in nature. The viral reproduction process follows a specific sequence of steps. First, the virus attaches to a host cell using special proteins on its surface that bind to receptors on the cell membrane. Second, the virus injects its genetic material into the host cell, either by penetrating the cell membrane or by being engulfed by the cell. Third, once inside, the viral genetic material hijacks the cell's machinery for replication, forcing the cell to produce viral components instead of its own proteins. Finally, new viral particles are assembled inside the cell and then released, often destroying the host cell in the process. These newly formed viruses can then go on to infect other cells. Viruses can infect a wide variety of living organisms. They infect animals, including humans and other mammals, birds, reptiles, and fish. Different viruses have evolved to target specific animal species and even specific cell types within those animals. Viruses also infect plants, causing diseases in both agricultural crops and wild plant species. Plant viruses can significantly impact food production and ecosystem health. Additionally, viruses can even infect bacteria and other microorganisms, though we are focusing primarily on viruses that affect larger organisms in this presentation. Let us look at some common examples of viruses that affect humans. The influenza virus causes the flu, a respiratory illness that affects millions of people each year. Coronavirus, particularly the one that causes COVID-19, has had a major global impact in recent years. HIV, which stands for Human Immunodeficiency Virus, causes a IDS, which stands for Acquired Immunodeficiency Syndrome, a disease that weakens the immune system. The measles virus causes a highly contagious disease characterized by fever and a distinctive rash. Each of these viruses demonstrates how viral infections can range from mild to severe and can significantly impact human health. To summarize what we have learned, viruses are non-living infectious agents that require host cells to reproduce, making them unique entities at the edge of life. They possess genetic material and protein structures, but lack the ability to carry out life processes independently. Understanding viruses helps us combat infectious diseases through the development of vaccines, antiviral medications, and public health strategies. As we continue to study viruses, we gain better tools to protect ourselves and our communities from viral infections. This knowledge is essential for anyone studying microbiology and the fascinating world of microorganisms.
If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit codelucky.com for more such useful content.